there is this particular kind of exhaustion that no amount of sleep can fix. You know the one. You wake up already tired, your to-do list multiplies faster than you can cross things off, you're doing everything the experts say, better funnels, more content, higher ad spend, proven frameworks, and somehow you're still stuck at the same revenue ceiling that you hit months or even years ago. If you're watching this, you're probably there right now, making between 5 to low 6 figures per year, working harder than you ever have, trying strategy after strategy, and watching other entrepreneurs break through whilst you stay stuck in place. Here's what you need to understand. It is not your strategy, it's not your work ethic, and it's not even your market. It is your energy. And I don't mean to go all woo-woo and start throwing crystals at you. I mean it in the most practical, business outcome affecting way possible. The emotional state that you are operating from, the feeling that drives your daily decision, is either a magnet for abundance or a beacon for scarcity. And if you've been grinding in hustle mode, chances are you've been broadcasting the wrong signal for way too long. What I'm about to share with you is in theory that I learned from asking ChatGPT. It is the exact shift that took me from being stuck at 10 to 20,000 per month for almost 3 years to crossing 30,000 per month almost immediately, and then 50,000 per month a few months later, whilst working significantly less. To explain this, let me take you back to where it all started falling apart. In February 2020, I handed in my notice and quit my job as a veterinary surgeon. That same week, I told my parents about my decision and shared publicly about the business that I've been secretly building. And the backlash was immediate and it was brutal. My close friends thought I was crazy. My not so close friends thought I joined a cult. My grandparents thought I was doing something illegal, and my mom told me to lose all my money so I could stop dreaming and get back to a normal job. So overnight, I went from being a straight A student who graduated from the top best school in the world and a son who would make any Asian mom proud to being a failure. And somewhere in that chaos, I forgot about my actual dream, which was to build a business that gave me meaning, purpose, and freedom. All I could think about back then was proving everyone wrong. I was no longer fueled by vision and enthusiasm. I was fueled by anger and anxiety. I had this massive chip on my shoulder and I hustled as if my life depended on it. I said yes to any work that would get me paid. I worked 12-hour days, bounced between reactive work and tactics, and operated in constant anger. And what's addictive about hustling and grinding is that it works to a certain extent. It didn't take long for me to hit 10,000 per month, but then I stayed stuck between 10 to 20,000 for almost 3 years. No matter what I tried, whether it be more ads, better offers, new strategies, bigger audiences, I just couldn't break through. I was swimming upstream, treading through mud, and I was just exhausted but unable to stop. Because back then, stopping meant I'll start losing what I fought for. And I didn't deserve to rest until I hit that new level. So here's why I didn't understand back then, but see so clearly right now. The hustle mentality that got me off the ground became the exact thing that was keeping me stuck. And there is this framework called the map of consciousness, developed by Dr. David Hawkins, that measures human emotional states on an energy scale of 0 to 1,000. And there's a critical dividing line at level 200. Below 200, you operate from what Hawkins called dark energy. This includes fear at 100, desire at 125, and anger at 150. Everything below 200 puts you in survival mode, which is exactly where I was because I kept thinking thoughts such as, if I stop, everything will fall apart. I'm never enough and I can always do more. And I'll prove them all wrong. I was fueled by scarcity, operating from a sense of lack, running on brute force and cortisol. But above 200, you enter light energy, starting with courage at 200, neutrality at 250, and willingness at 310. I was stuck at levels of fear, desire, and anger for almost 3 years. And here's a brutal truth about operating from that place. What you focus on expands. And when you focus on lack, on what you do not have, what's missing, and what's not working, you attract more lack. I was spending more on ads not because I was ready to grow, but because I was too afraid to take a step back. I was creating more content not because I wanted to give, but because I was desperate for clients. And I was doing more, working harder for freedom, only to fall further away from it. My entire energy was screaming, I don't have enough. I am behind. I don't deserve to rest until I catch up. And the universe kept giving me exactly that. Not enough, always behind, and constantly catching up. Month over month, I became increasingly tired and mentally exhausted. Despite investing into more business programs and executing more strategies, my business didn't just plateau, it began to slowly decline. And after a particularly rough week, I had a conversation with my mindset coach that changed everything. She asked me this simple question: is what you are doing giving you energy or taking it away? The silence that followed was deafening because the answer was no. I didn't feel alive. I was like this machine running on fumes, operating on autopilot and checking boxes on someone else's definition of success. And that is when it hit me. My problem wasn't the lack of work ethic, strategies, or resources. My problem was that I become so focused on what I lacked that I was actively pushing away the abundance that I claimed to want. I was sending a signal to the universe through my stress, my desperation, and my constant state of not enoughness that attracted more stress, lack, and anxiety. And no amount of hard work could override that signal. So rather than working harder on my business, I shifted my focus to work on my energy. I started doing hypnotherapy, journaling daily, and practicing how to get out of my head and tune into my heart. And as I started paying off all the emotional debt that I was accumulating, I met with my mindset coach again, and she said something that challenged my whole identity. She asked, if working harder isn't working, why not try working less? She invited me to operate from a place of trust and acceptance, to let the mud settle, to stop forcing solutions to every problem immediately, to trust that clarity would come alongside solutions that were simple and obvious. And back then, the advice felt counterintuitive because hard work was what got my business off the ground. But I ultimately promised her that I'll trust the process. So I started giving myself permission to have empty mornings, to wake up without immediately diving into chaos, to sit with stillness instead of filling every moment with busy work. And something extraordinary happened. I started getting what I can only describe as downloads, insights that seem to come out of nowhere but gives you massive clarity. Solutions to problems that I've been wrestling for months simply appeared, and opportunities that I've been chasing suddenly came to me once I stopped chasing after them. And for the first time in my entrepreneurial journey, I experienced what it felt like to be in flow, to tap into intuition rather than pure willpower. And the very next month I started practicing stillness, I completely shattered my revenue plateau. For the first time, I crossed 30,000 per month, and it happened almost immediately. A few months later, I had 52,000 per month in cash collected, and in the same quarter, my business broke its previous quarterly record by 46% while I took 3 weeks completely off. And what's fascinating is that I didn't work harder. I didn't discover some secret marketing tactic or suddenly became smarter. I simply shifted from feeling my growth from dark energy to light energy, from force to power, from scarcity to abundance. So if you're stuck right now, working your butt off, but not seeing the results that you want, I want you to hit pause and ask yourself this one question. What is the default emotional state you are operating from? Be honest with yourself for a moment and examine your thought patterns. When you wake up each morning, what is the emotional feel behind your actions? Do you wake up with a restless mind and a tight chest, thinking about what could go wrong if you don't hit your numbers today? Do you scroll through social media comparing yourself to others and wondering why everyone seems to be moving faster and winning and immediately feel as if you have to catch up? Do you tell yourself, I'll rest when I finally make it, as if freedom is something that you have to earn through exhaustion? And do you catch yourself striving for progress and goals, not from a place of purpose, but because you are chasing validation? If any of this is relatable, you're likely operating below 200 on a consciousness scale. And when you're running on dark energy, no strategy, tactic, or amount of hustle will fix that. So if you're ready to break through, then I would like to invite you to step into the place of courage, starting with the following steps. Step 1. Start a daily journaling practice and ask yourself these 3 questions every evening. What happened today? What do I feel today? And why do I feel this way? As you take up the practice of transferring what is in your mind and heart onto paper, you begin to pay off that emotional debt and start tuning into your intuition. Step 2. Give yourself permission to be still. Block off a weekday morning with nothing scheduled. No emails, no calls, no productive tasks. Just putter around like Jeff Bezos liked to say. Then see what emerges from that space that you create for yourself. Step number 3, operate from trust and not fear. The next time you feel anxiety rising, whether it be about money, clients, or competition, just hit pause. Ask yourself, am I focusing on lack or abundance right now? Then consciously redirect your attention to what is working, what you have, and what is possible. Abundance is not something that you achieve through hustle. It is something that you embody. And unless you allow yourself to deserve that level of wealth and freedom, unless you shift your consciousness from survival to creation, no amount of hard work will get you there. You've been swimming upstream through that muddy river for long enough, and it's time to let that mud settle, to flow along the current instead of forcing yourself through it. Thanks for watching. And if you want to bring this new energy state to your business and build an asset that amplifies peace, freedom, and abundance, click this video and I'll show you the 4 systems you can install to do exactly that.